welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If this is your first time on the channel, consider subscribing as it helps out the channel, and give this video a like if you do like it. So this is a review for Back Alley Oproar, released on the 27th of March 1948, with a blue ribbon reissue on the 5th of February 1955. It's the 518th in the series, and it's directed by Frizz Freeling. Due to copyright, I can't show you the full cartoon in this review, but you can see it in full on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 2 DVD set and on the Platinum Collection Volume 2 Blu-ray set. I'll have links below for that. And in case you haven't seen this cartoon, a lot of you probably would have, but just in case, it's very simple. Elmer has retired for the evening, but outside, Sylvester has other plans, and that is to sing the night away. And with me today is someone that does this on a nightly basis to annoy his neighbours, is my good friend Manny Cruz. Say hi.
Some Thursday evening, Anthony and me. Hey, how was that?
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. I heard you sing. Wonderful, wonderful. But before we get into this, I just want to run by two very quick bits of trivia before we have a discussion on this wonderful cartoon. So essentially, this cartoon is a remake, and it's a remake of Notes to You that Frizz Freeling also directed, and that short featured Porky and a random cat instead. And the musical choices, some have also been reused, and some of the gags have been reused as well, but as we'll discuss, this cartoon actually is a better made cartoon. And this also features the first appearance of, and I hope I said this right, Alum, or Alum? I don't know, because, you know, the Americans say, what, aluminum, and we say aluminium. So, and of course, this magical product shrinks a part of the character's head, where, according to people who actually have had this product, it feels like the head's shrinking or something, and, well, here it's literal. So, first of all, Manny, which is it, alum or alum?
It's interesting because, like you said before, I call it aluminum, and of course, every time I hear someone who's British or oh, we have a little bit of aluminium on top of a food or whatever thing they say, but every time I see that product, I think it's pronounced alum. But to be 100% honest, I've actually never seen it in my life, nor have I ever heard anybody specifically say the word. So I'm just going by my assumption. But then again, if I say aluminum, shouldn't I say alum as opposed to alum? So I guess I'm British after all. I don't know. I'm lost. This game of semantics is throwing me off.
Yes, indeed. So, we will later on address, the question of which is the better cartoon for us, Notes to You or this one. But let's just go through it. I mean, the highlight, to me anyway, is Mel Blanc's singing. This is like a tour de force for him, and he has cast styling too, which we'll get to in a sec. But man, I would love to see a recording of this done by Mel. I mean, he's singing all sorts of songs, and he even does a literal Hungarian Rhapsody #2 while stopping up and down the stairs. Just
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
which we know Frizz loves to use that song already, having been done in Rhapsody Rabbit and all that. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this cartoon?
It is. I mean, obviously, I'm biased because I am a musician, and it's been a while since I've seen this one. Just before we recorded, I rewatched it, but my goodness, it's a great cartoon. It's great gags, and like you said, later we'll talk a little bit about the ultimate battle, this or Notes to You. But I mean, especially with this cartoon, you see the evolution of Frizz's timing, just how brilliant he was with his musical skills, and like you took the words right out of my mouth. It's just Mel Blanc's chops as a singer. It's just on full display right here. There's one scene in particular I absolutely love. Oh, there's two. So when he does Angel in Disguise, in the beginning of Angel in Disguise, you have a different singer who I don't have his name at the moment, And then when it starts becoming more like, I think Spike Jones, when the music starts becoming like imitation of Spike Jones's crazy music.
Just an angel in disguise.
And it's Mel Blanc, and
Oh,
just
yep,
the
yep.
contrast between those two styles are brilliant. But also on Moonlight Bay, when he starts Moonlight Bay, it's his normal voice, and then he drops down into a bass. We were sailing along, and then he goes back into his normal, and it's like he's doing a vocal trio with himself.
We were sailing along, we were sailing along on the moonlight bay, on a moonlight bay.
And I also remember reading and hearing that Mel Blanc was a brilliant singer as well, and it's just clearly he must have had a ball doing this one. And myself as a singer and someone who is I've been contemplating doing voice acting. It's just like, this is how it's done. It's like taking your musical gifts and applying them in a different way, and just making such funny stuff in the process.
And it's not just even the music of this one. I mean, it could be an all musical affair, but if the gags aren't funny, then, well, what's the point, right? Unless it's Fantasia or something. But some of the gags here, like one really good one, of course, as I mentioned before, the Hungarian Rhapsody with the stomping, but then later on you'd have Elmer slipping on all that grease. you were telling me before we recorded, just the timing of that. I mean, my goodness. But when I watch it, I think, Elmer, why aren't you walking around those tacks at the very bottom?
Well, I was going to say with that scene in particular, it's like, I wish I was in the room to just experience what the Warner Brothers Orchestra was doing during that part with the whistles and like the clanging and all that crazy stuff. But it's funny. It reminds me, that scene of Elmer with the grease and especially with the tacks. It reminds me of. Do you remember the scene in Home Alone where the wet bandits are like, and he steps on like the grease and then the nail goes through his shoe? And I'm like, that scene always creeped me out as a kid. It's so like, it's kind of gruesome. And Elmer's going through the same stuff, but because of how brilliant the animators were in stalling and Frizz's timing, it's like something that could be very gruesome is absolutely hilarious.
Exactly. It's just incredible. But you want to know what my favorite scene is, though? People are probably watching this going, you're not saying the best part. Well, okay. Best part is you see this, orange cat.
Life was only made for laughter. What's all the tears connect?
It's just incredible. I mean, when you first heard that voice, what did you think?
I've had plenty of experiences in my life where I've seen people, other singers that you'd see them and you make an assumption. Oh, so and so looks like this, and then they sound like that, and then they open their mouth and it's exactly what would happen in this cartoon, where it's like this dumpy looking cat, and then a beautiful soprano voice singing "O Carissima" comes out. And they're like, wait, what? The voice doesn't match the look, and I've seen that happen so many times in person, where it's like, whether it's a man or a woman, you make an assumption and boom, the beautiful singing voice comes out. And it's like, yeah, I didn't see that one coming. And talking about that part as well, I love right at the end, right when Elmer hits the cat with the rifle, and it's like you hear the slowing down of the singing, and then of course Frizz timing the cat falling off the roof to the end of that song. I'm just like, chef's kiss right there. So good.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where this cartoon actually pluses on notes to you, where they reuse what worked really well on notes to you, and then they just added all these wonderful gags in this new version. And some of the things that they reused, like for example, in the first one they had, like, I think Fu Manchu and then Return of Fu Manchu.
Seems bright and gay. Take that, you old cat. And when
And in this one, it's the Thin Man and then the Return of the Thin Man. Hey, it's a great gag. Why not?
Keep you quiet. Bells will be chiming.
And of course, in this one, Elmer dies, and one Porky doesn't, so they changed that part. but it still has a similar sort of ending where you got the 9 lives of the whatever cat in whichever short it is. But wow! So I guess now, before we get into our rating of Back Alley Oproar as is, which do you prefer? Notes to You or Back Alley Oproar? I'll get you to probably start because I'd rather people be upset at you first, I guess.
Oh, great. Get your pies ready, folks, and your Rotten Tomatoes. So, okay. Back Alley Oproar is definitely one of the best Warner Brothers shorts ever made. Not just musical shorts, but just shorts in general. Just this is Frizz at his height in terms of gags, in terms of music. Sylvester is arguably the most versatile Looney Tune character they have, and he shines brilliantly in here. Elmer's great in this one too. I know some people complain like, "Oh, Elmer's kind of boring if he's not with Bugs or whatever," but in this short, I think he's great in it. He's a great foil to Sylvester, and awesome animation, all that fun stuff. I also really like Notes to You, but I'll admit I have a personal bias towards Notes to You because I told you this off the recording, but one of the and I made this connection actually not that long ago, like literally 2-3 years ago. So when I was a kid, back in the 1990s, woo, and I used to see Notes to You all the time on a VHS set my mom or my dad bought me, and I used to watch it constantly. And I would hear, in the beginning of the cartoon, in both cartoons, the random cat and Sylvester singing "Largo al Factotum" from the Barber of Seville. At the time, I didn't know what that was the name of the piece, but as a little kid, I'm going, Figaro, Figaro, and me with my crazy wobbly vibrato voice that I just started randomly doing as a kid for no reason. I went to kindergarten music class. I started going Figaro, Figaro, Figaro because of that cartoon of Notes to You. My teacher thought I was being, disruptive, which in reality I was. But then he realized, hey, this kid likes music and he has a decent voice. Let's see what he can do. A few months later, I did my first performance, and now almost 30 years later, here I am, a musician, music teacher with 2 degrees in music. I think just because of my own personal bias and my own personal story, and I'll throw in one other thing too. Porky is my favorite Looney Tune character. This is tough because I feel like saying Notes to You, but there's so many great gags, and Frizz's timing is better. And Back Alley Oproar, I'm gonna have to give Notes to You a slight edge just because of my own personal history. But I figured if I was gonna say it's a draw, then I definitely would have had an anvil dropped on top of my head. So
fair enough. In my case, look, purely for nostalgia reasons, I prefer Notes to You, because that's a cartoon I grew up with, in beautiful colorized quality. I mean,
oh yeah,
well, what else is it going to be, right? And I just enjoy the gags and whatnot. And I didn't see Back Alley Oproar until I got the Looney Tunes Gold Collection Volume 2 DVD set. I had never seen it before. So when I saw it, I thought, this looks familiar. But I don't remember the cartoon having Elmer. I was a bit surprised at that. But it was a great cartoon and all that. But in the end, I think nostalgia, I prefer Notes to You. But is it a better made cartoon? No. Back Alley Oproar is for the simple fact that, it's just with experience and time. Frizz Freeling just got better at his gags, and his timing gets better and better. Because one thing I'll point out in terms of his timing, look at the scene with the light in Elmer's room where, he's tired, he's going to go to bed. He clicks the light, and then in the time between the light changing, going from on to off, he gets into bed. And that is just incredible. And I didn't even realize that beforehand, Plus, by this point, Frizz has got Holy Pratt, so
yeah.
Which Frizz Freeling and Holy Pratt as a team, that they're just dynamic duo. They work so well together, similar to how Mike Maltese works so well with Chuck Jones. How would you rate this cartoon? Just Back Alley Oproar on its own, what would you give it out of 10?
Ooh, this is tough. I was going back and forth. It's definitely one of the best shorts the studio ever made. Is it one of my top 10? Not personally, but I'll definitely admit it's a great short. I'm gonna have to give it fine. I was gonna say 8.5. I'll give it a 9. This is definitely a brilliant short. Brilliant short. Laughs throughout. Great music. Great timing from Frizz. It's a masterpiece.
Yep. I give it a 9 as well. It is that good. It really is. You know, despite me... See, the weird thing is, as much as I prefer Notes to You, I would actually rank that less. It's just a weird thing, 'cause in terms of... But from a technical level, yeah, Back Alley Oproar is better, but for nostalgia, I just prefer Notes to You. So there's everyone's answer, really, from my point of view. So we'll wrap this one up here. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and also let us know in the comments which do you prefer, Notes to You or Back Alley Uproar. And at least Notes to You is in the public domain, so that should be easy for you guys to find. So until next time, take care.
Don't you have an ear for musical appreciation?